Well, here we are. I'm Tom Osman, and this is Whatever Comes Next, the podcast where I explore the world of underground and independent music making. And on today's episode, I'm kind of blowing up the concept of the podcast because my guest is not really a part of the musical underground. I'm not sure if I can officially call someone who's been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a member of the musical underground. But in any case, I'm talking to Michael Hampton, otherwise sometimes known as Kid Funkadelic, formerly of Funkadelic, Parliament, the whole George Clinton universe, many other projects over the years. Mr. Michael Hampton's latest release, the mini album King Kong, is out now on the slightly convoluted Sound Mind Records, Lightyear, Virgin Records, UMG label combination. Not quite sure how to describe that, but that's where it's available. I'm going to put a link in the description for all various places that you can find it. It's apparently going to be available in about 3 weeks' time on CD and vinyl. It's not available on Bandcamp, but you can listen to and buy digital copies of Michael Hampton's previous release into the public domain on Bandcamp, as well as it being available on various other platforms too. Mr. Michael Hampton is also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, where I do not venture, YouTube, Spotify, which I also don't talk about very much these days. Go and find him in these places. I will put links in the description. You can find me on various platforms at Tom Osman Sounds. You can go to my website, tomosmansounds.com. I'm going to play a little clip from King Kong in just a moment. And that, I think, is that. So, Michael Hampton, guitarist, longtime George Clinton collaborator, and performer in many projects. Take it away. Hello, sir.
How are you?
I'm good. Tom, pleased to meet you.
Hey, Tom. Same here.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Where are you right now? Are you at home?
At home, yeah. Morrisville, Pennsylvania.
Okay. I mean, my US geography is really bad. I know you're originally from Cleveland, so
Yes, sir.
how long have you been in Pennsylvania for?
It's about 20 years, 30 years almost. It's been a while, yeah.
Does it feel like home now?
Yeah, I was like, every place I go, I just try to make myself at home. But it's definitely home. I don't know what that a feeling of home is. Doesn't feel like where I'm from, which is my first home. But then I left at 17, so it's like, I didn't. I guess I don't think about what the feeling of being at home is like, because it's always something happening. It's like moving, so I haven't really like got. It's like I can't really get comfortable because stuff is like happening. As soon as I kind of get comfortable, I could say which I don't really know what that is. I just, so yeah, I try to just, yeah, I feel at home. Yeah, I'm at home. And if I'm not where I live, I try to feel, at home. I just try to stay focused somehow that I feel like I take home with me, wherever I go.
Yeah, it's kind of an unfair question for me because I haven't toured around the world, but I've lived in lots of different places. I'm from Australia originally, and I've
Okay.
lived in the UK in different parts. I lived in Czech Republic, I lived in Germany. So if people ask me where I'm from, I
Hmm.
never really know how to answer it. So
Oh, so okay. So I know why I was like, I probably overthought. I should have just said, yeah, yes, I feel at home. I just, and that's it. All the questions. When I started doing the interviews and most of the podcasts and stuff, it's like I know I have to be as transparent as I can, and then that sometimes it's like just answer the question like, okay, you know, it's like, yes, I feel at home. You know, it's like I don't have to go into all this, but that's cool, you know.
No, no, man, it's all good. You can answer the questions any way you like. I'm all for philosophical consideration, so it's all good.
Yeah, I do like what I can. I don't, I guess philosophical. Yeah, I guess that's just someone else to determine if it's kind of like, man, that's deep, you know. I think I remember telling my uh yeah my granddad, you know, he one of my granddad on my mom's side, and it was like he said, "Well, yeah, boy, yeah, home." I said, and I'm like, I think I was in California at the time, and I said, "Hey, Granddad, the whole world, the whole Earth is my home," you know, and something I said to him like that, and it was like, "Come on," you know. But I like to feel like we all, you know, everybody's got a piece of where whatever, you know. You just can't get everywhere, you know. It's like everybody should feel at home wherever they're at, but it's like the way it's sectioned off, you know. Sometimes it's like hey, just drop the borders and all that, and everybody just go where they want to go, wherever you can get there, you
Yeah, for
know.
sure. So there's like, it was interesting for me getting ready for this interview. I talk to a lot of people. Usually I speak to people that kind of like underground musicians, DIY musicians, and I was getting ready for this interview and I thought, there are going to be so many amazing stories, but amazing stories you've probably been asked 500 times. So I was thinking like, how can I ask you some questions to tell me some stories that you've never told before? So
I mean, I don't know, you know, if it's anything particular you want to ask me, but Bernie Worrell and myself, you know, he used to call me like his little brother, you know, and he was an only child, but in a keyboard prodigy and all that. And then um, he was we were on stage, and I had I was, you know, the guitar players uh, basically I looked to Bernie for the notes, you know, like give me an E or give me an A, give me so like I'm tuning the guitar open, and it's like I tune all the strings open, and when I hit the note on the neck, it didn't match what was on his keyboard. Like say if he hit an octave higher than a E or a high E or high C or whatever, it wouldn't match if I placed my finger on the fretboard of the guitar. It wouldn't match on that same string. So open, it was in tune with his keyboard, and then on the neck, it was sharp or flat or something that he could hear. He had this perfect pitch, you know. And I was like, after a while, I think Gary Scheider, he overheard me say this to Bernie, which is like me totally being kind of like arrogant, you know, and I didn't know what I was talking about. But what happened was after we did that and it wasn't tuning up, I was like, Bernie, why don't you tune your keyboard to my guitar? You know, it's like, it's like so I don't know why I said it. You know, it's just kind of, it wasn't matching up. And then later on, you know, when you do the intonation for the guitar, like I do my own intonation now, you know, but, you know, when I can't get a professional to do it, a luthier or something. But with the electronic tuners now, then I can, you know, I can get more accurate, so I can adjust it by placing my finger on the string or the octave or the harmonic or something, and get it, you know, pretty much in tune with the keyboard, you know, with whatever note it is. But I was setting up my guitar at the time for it to play easier, so I could bend the strings more, and I didn't know about this intonation and about tuning to a keyboard and all of that. So it was he was right that it was out, and then for me the guitar itself was in tune. You know, it's like if you couldn't really, you had to just have a perfect pitch to be like, okay, it's not off. I mean, that's not in over here or there. It'd have to be really a stickler for it being in key. Like if I had to match chords with him, but that's pretty hard thing to do. It felt great and it was in tune, but when I had to tune it to a keyboard or something like that, then that was something for a more professional a luthier to the intonation on it, which I had no idea about that. I was just self-taught for the most part when it comes to setting up the guitar. I used to take it apart and all that and put it
Yeah.
back together because that's all I could do. I couldn't really kick it with the older guys. They'd go different places that I couldn't go, you know, out on the road and stuff. Not as interesting as I thought it might be. I'm sorry. It's not like it doesn't have all of the
Well,
the
you know what? The funny thing, like about perfect pitch, my dad years ago when I was a kid, he wanted to see if he could train himself to have perfect pitch. So he
mhm.
used to go around with a tuning fork,
Oh
and
yeah,
he'd be
yeah.
like
Got
at the
that.
bus stop waiting to go to work, and he'd like
Mhm.
go ah, and then he'd hit the tuning fork to listen to see if he had the correct note. And he
Okay,
told me years later he did this like again and again for a couple of months, like every day. And then
okay.
he got to the end of it and he decided actually it didn't make any difference. He didn't have perfect pitch, but he tried.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I get into it. I don't. That's kind of like when you have it, you have it. But yeah, to actually like I think Greg Boyer, the trombone player with us now, he has perfect pitch and some of the horn players, and then I'll ask him out of nowhere, like would notice that like sometimes when you hear like the trucks backing up and they had a beep 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 beep, and then if I'm tuning my guitar or something, I'll say like, oh, what note is that? And then I'll try to find it. And one time it was backing up, and it happened to be the same key as "We Want the Funk." Like "We want the funk, get out the." So so if I didn't have a tuner or something like that, that was kind of one of those things. Like, well, if somebody's backing up, then I could get an E from that.
Then I've got it.
Yeah, somewhere
So,
in there.
I mean, I guess anyone that knows you and anyone that knows Funkadelic and Parliament and George Clinton, that whole history knows that you joined the band when you were a teenager. And I was looking at your list of credits, and I think, it's kind of like hard to keep track of, but I think you played on about 20 plus records by the end of the 70s. I think you had like half a dozen records that you were on before you're even 20. How like aware were you at that time when you were coming in to do a session of like this is for this recording or that, or was it just kind of like here's a session, it's going to appear on something at some point?
Yeah, I didn't even know it was going to appear on anything. It wasn't like, okay, we're working on the next album, and this is what it's going to be, and it was just a bunch of tracks. Like we stayed across. Some of us were staying at Detroit at the time, across the street from United Sound, the studios, and we just be there on deck, like on call, like we hang out at the studio all day, all night, and then till we couldn't do play anymore or stay up or whatever, and we take different shifts recording, and I never knew where any of the tracks were going to go. Like our first session was Stretching Out, which I didn't know that was going to be on Bootsy's Rubber Band. You know, Stretching Out Bootsy's Rubber Band, and then it was Be My Beach was done that same day or night, and Be My Beach wound up on a Funkadelic album, and yeah, it was just tracks, and never knew where they might wind up. When I think about it now, as I wasn't thinking that would ever be on any Parliament tracks. I thought it was just more like go in, turn up, but I did some rhythm here and there, and you know, got on some Parliament tracks, but I never knew which artist or which group it would be under. Like even the offshoot groups like Brides of Funkenstein and Parlet and the Horny Horns. Yeah, it was just a bunch of tracks that I I never knew where they were going to go.
Yeah.
I still don't really know exactly which ones you're probably talking about. I have to be like, okay, yeah, that was me. And then some of them they might have got the credits wrong,
Yeah.
because I think they spelled my name wrong on like the first album. I think my last name was Hammond, you
Oh,
know,
right.
yeah, something like the Hammond B3 or something. But yeah, I never knew. That like to this day, they probably got tracks in George's. Probably has a library of tapes or what have you, 2 tracks, if he still keeps those, and or it's there somewhere. Probably won't even. Well, since they got so much recorded, like nowadays, you could just pull that out or sample it, and I don't even have to be there for the session. They could give me credit for actually playing on it because I recorded the original, but I wouldn't know if they put it on a song today or if it wound up, you know, on somebody else's track. It's just it's in the well, like I say, public domain. Something.
On the topic then, like of the sounds of different records, because I was listening to Into the Public Domain, which is a really cool. I mean, if I use the word funky, it's going to be well used, but it's very like in your face, and I feel like it's got quite a different sound to King Kong. They're both very cool records, and I'm wondering, are you going into those sessions with a different approach, or it's more about the way it's produced afterwards?
It's definitely more about the way it's produced afterwards. Because I go in there and do session, we try to find a sound, whatever the sound may be, and for either me improvising over it and do a couple of passes or as many that we have time for, because there's other musicians laying parts and stuff with. Yeah, I come up with it like that. It's I wasn't sitting by the in the studio like, okay, I want this to sound like this and I want this to sound like that. I don't know all the countless people. I still don't know everybody that's on any of the music. I wasn't taking notes and nobody's really passed it out to me, but I just trusted it to Phil and Joe Nicolo and oh yeah, Shooter Jennings. He was in there, but I'm dropping some names, but we were at his studio. But it was different studios, and each time it either be a different guitar, or it might be an effect that just experimenting with it. Like I think, well, Bill Laswell. I remember him being one of the people that used to do that. You play, and they'd play with the effect. It's not like I would if they had a wah wah or something, they'd have the wah wah in their hand, you know,
No, right.
and
Okay. They're wah-wahing you while you're playing.
yeah, yeah, or something, or whatever the effect may be. So whatever I do first usually is like may have distortion or it may be clean, but they take all those passes, my the ideas, and then they probably run it through some processor of sound, something that they're hearing against, like you say, it was in your face, and I was like, I don't even think I've had time to actually listen to everything. I've just heard bits and pieces while we were recording it, and then I was off to do something else that I had to, memorize or something, but whether it's on tour or something like that. But it it was all by chance, for me. And they might wake up one morning, they hear it one way, and I guess if you record or something about recording, it's like they'll let it kind of marinate or whatever, and then they'll go back and listen to it again. They might hear something else, or I might overdub again. It might be a track I've already overdubbed on, and or it might be something I might have actually did the figures like the foundation, but most of it the tracks were like I overdubbed on something that was created by some other artists, you know.
Yeah. So have you always kind of had that approach when it comes to recording that you go in, you play, and you trust the people that you're working with that are going to do with it what they will? Like your part is the performance, and then you leave it up to them.
Yeah, from the first time I was in the studio, I had no idea that stretching out, that rhythm part would be just more like I say, in your face. That was louder than I thought it would be. You know, once I started doing sessions, I would hear myself like either way in the back, like on handcuffs. I thought I did a rhythm thing that was pretty slick, and it wound up being like way in the back of the track, you know. And I was like, oh man, I really liked what I was playing on that, you know, and it ends up in the back of the track. So yeah, when that started happening, I just started letting go of any personal, like how come I'm not loud enough, or
Yeah.
this should be there, or this. And so I don't like to spend a lot of time over the specific parts. You know, I'm probably like, okay, that's cool. Okay, record something else, record something. And I don't get real precise as to how I want things, you know,
Yeah.
which it may come later, but I guess I got like kind of like ADD something to, you know, I'm in there to kind of have, I want to have fun recording, and maybe that's not always the case, but as soon as I'm done having a good time, then my attention kind of changes a little bit, and um, I usually don't go in there with an idea, you know, like, okay, this is the song I want to record. You know,
Yeah.
I always been coming in when the track's already really been pretty much laid, you know,
Yeah.
and it's hard for me to be like, oh, you know, it has to be pretty bad for me not to not to want to do it. It's like, man, I'm not playing on that. You know, it's like, I'm gonna lose my street cred or something. You know,
Yeah.
but I really don't give it a whole lot of thought. I just go with the flow,
Yeah.
and now it's like it can be remixed or something later if it goes that route, and maybe I will get into it more. But I try to spare my feelings on all of it. Like if if people like music, that's great. If everybody's kind of agreement and not saying anything about, I just kind of go with that. If they didn't like it, I wouldn't know. Some of the stuff that I'm doing, it may work, it may not work, and I try not to think about that at all. I just go with the flow, go with my, I could say, gut feeling or something. But uh, usually I just play until it's okay. That's cool, Mike. You know, I think we have enough. You know, a couple passes on the same thing, maybe three passes, and then they'll find something out of the three that they can work with.
I was thinking, like you mentioned briefly touring, and I was thinking, back when you joined George Clinton in playing in Funkadelic and Parliament and everything else, I guess his shows were already at that peak with, the mothership and him coming down and all the whole big stage setup. Like, was that already kind of like at its peak when you started playing? That must have felt like a really unique experience.
No, this I did when you first said when I joined the group. Oh no, you know, I wanted to say something about it. I have been saying it in the other interviews that what happened was is it wasn't an audition, like a formal audition for them when they played in Cleveland, and then they came to this after party and heard me play Maggot Brain, what have you. But Tiki Footwood called me about 2 weeks after they seen me, and they flew me into to DC or Maryland, and I did the Capitol Center there. But I it wasn't like I formally joined the group, It was like kind of like morphed into that, like I did the one show, and then they found out I had a driver's license. So I ended up I was driving the van, and just doing the one song, doing Maggot Brain. Then they do the rest of the set until I learned the set. So I was learning the set as I was touring, but it wasn't like a formal like I'm joining the band. It's like, hey, listen, I'm going to join Funkadelic. I'm going to join Parliament, and I was just morphed into it. I started doing like the live version, or trying to do Cosmic Slop. Once Ron Bykowski, he did the original solo of Cosmic Slop, and then when I did the live version, it was based off what he did in the studio for the most part, and he was touring for a while, and until I think his wife didn't want, it was like being a musician wasn't bringing home the bacon, so to speak. So I think he became a banker or something like that.
Slightly more reliable way to make money.
Yeah, exactly. So he left, but yeah, it's funny is that it wasn't like I formally joined, and all of a sudden I'm on album covers, and I got a nickname,
Yeah.
from and yeah. So, but I'm in, it's just, it never was. Well, yeah, when I went to the Musicians Union in Cleveland, I was telling them I was getting ready to tour, going out with Funkadelic, and they looked at me like, "You going?" It's like they knew the group already, and they were like, "Okay, good luck, son." It's like it's like it's like I've kind of felt like, what am I getting myself into? But it was too late. So
Yeah.
I just went through the motions of joining the musicians union, and driving the rental cars, and the van. It was the van first, but then we got these two rental cars. But yeah, that was a gray area because I never said like, "Hey, can I join the group?" It's like, I never went at it like that. It was just all of a sudden it was just like I'd just been there.
Yeah.
It just happened.
What were those shows like though, when you had the big production? Like, did you kind of go into that knowing what was going to be happening, or it was just kind of like you're going to be on stage and there's going to be a whole bunch of crazy shit going on and just keep playing?
We rehearsed for it, like when they were building the, the mothership. It was, I guess, up in upstate New York. They were building. That's when they recorded the live version. So we were rehearsing the set while they were building the ship, and so I had an idea. Just look, I think I might have seen the sketching, like the blueprints briefly, but I had no idea. It was just basically uh, suit up, costume rack. They roll a costume rack in there from somewhere. Pick what you want to wear. Put that on everybody, and we rehearsed the parts and the tunes, and we went out there. I had no idea that it was scripted, except for the fact. I mean, the time when George came out of the mothership, I knew that we were going to play Funkenstein. We were going to play Dr. Funkenstein. So whatever to start of the show was Cosmic Slop, and then I have to go back and watch all that stuff. But once we rehearsed the show, it just went over, and we just did the same show over and over. We actually, um, doing some places, some cities twice. You know, like they sell out, and then we have to go back that way for the people that didn't get in or didn't make it. But it was totally crazy because the costumes changed all the time. You know, people either some of the members would either lose a costume or somebody wants a souvenir. You know, it was totally it's kind of a lot of freedom to wear whatever you want.
Yeah.
Or whatever you don't want. you know, I think I remember seeing what was that? Oh, it was on a video, but I didn't know it was happening at the time I was touring, and Tyrone Lampkin, he's one of the drummers. He played on the original Cosmic Slap, but I was looking at the video and I'm like, what does he have on the step cymbal, right? And you know how the step cymbal is, right?
Hmm.
You know the little pieces six.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna stop there, cause because it was yeah, I mean, come on, man. I never knew he had did that. You know, I was like, I was on the other side of the stage, but like looking at the video, I could see it from where the others. I could see what other people on that side. If he
Yeah.
was a right-handed drummer and I was on the right side, and the stepson was on the left, so he was covering that, blanketing that, and it was so. I don't know if that was in the rehearsal, but I mean, so somebody either knew that was going to happen, or he just kind of threw it on that step cymbal, um, at the time being, just because I don't think that would. It was kind of X-rated there, bro. I'm telling you. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I mean, you can imagine the groove is like, we're grooving, and this thing is jumping up on. I'm like, come on, Ty. So yeah, it was pretty crazy.
I would have thought
Yeah,
so, yeah.
yeah. I didn't. There was some things happening. I definitely was too young to really, I couldn't even imagine it. I don't even. I think when I left Cleveland and all that, um, yeah, I hadn't got broken in really yet. The road
Hmm.
was it was a whole nother frontier.
Yeah, I can imagine. This is like a little bit later, but even so, it's probably about, well, I think it's 40 years ago. Do you remember working with Afrika Bambaataa?
Yeah, a little bit, but it was with Bill Laswell. I believe he did something, but I think we just recorded in the studio, and it was brief.
Yeah, because I think it was like it's the Beware the Funk is Everywhere album, but maybe it was just like a track or two that you played on. So I don't know who you actually played with in the studio for that.
Yeah, he was there, but I was they just kind of I just was there doing the session, and I probably didn't we didn't really converse a whole lot. I mean, I got the gist that he was well-known bass player, and is
Yeah.
that wait a minute, he played bass, right?
That would be, yeah, because I know that Bill Laswell, he had a studio with Martin BC and they did stuff together with Brian Eno. And then I know he went off and did his own thing. And he
Right.
played bass with a bunch of different projects.
I forgot about that. I gotta check that out because I don't remember. Like I was saying, some of the times the tracks would get pushed back. Sometimes they might not even use the track, so I didn't get a copy, or I don't know how that actually went down. I'm hearing it from you, but I'm like, I was on it. It was like the Golden Palominos was another. Somebody reminded me I did something with Golden Palominos, which Bernie Worrell had got me in the session with that and working with those musicians, that drummer. But yeah, I'm sure he was cool people, but I was oblivious to different things that were going on. That he was obviously, I don't know how much older, but I probably couldn't keep up with whatever was going on. I'd just be in the lobby, maybe I lay a track and have a soda or something, or a smoke, what have you. But I can't say that we really talked. And that I got to know him, or a lot of different musicians that are just kind of like ships in the night.
Yeah. Do you remember working with Dean Ween in well, the album came out in 2016, the Diener album.
Yeah.
Um, how did that come about that you ended up working with him?
Well, I knew him when he was younger. So because where I'm staying at is like about 30 minutes from where we just kind of we would meet up like I think it was New Hope, and this is a club, John and Peters. But my now girlfriend, you know, and wife, if you want to say, she knew the kid. She knew they were in the neighborhood here, you know. So we met like that, and just kind of got together jamming with them, like a jam session at these some clubs. And he had a personal studio, I believe. He had his own studio, and probably laid some tracks there, and he might have wound up on the album. But I actually don't know if I don't even know if I made the album. Yeah, we just good friends. I'm trying to find him now. He's like it's just kind of people some musicians, even myself, is like you don't want to be out as much. So I know he's around somewhere, but I can't seem to get him on the phone. So I don't keep trying after a while. I could
Yeah.
I could ask him the questions, because he would probably know a lot better than I would, because back at that time we were living pretty fast.
Oh yeah.
I was living pretty fast.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of tracks at least that you're on that album, Mercedes Benz and Doo Doo Chasers.
Uh yeah, yeah. And I hadn't even realized that I was on that. But yeah, yeah, I remember those. I thought you might have been it was something else, but yeah, when he was doing it, I just wasn't clear if he was going to use it or not. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, it, he's giving me a copy of the album or something. You know, he's saying, that you're in the group. You know, but
How
yeah,
did
it was nice.
yeah, that's cool. No, I mean I'm a big fan of Dean Ween and Ween in general. They do a lot of
Oh
really
yeah,
interesting music.
sure.
Onto something else interesting that you've been involved with quite recently. How did the Punkadelic project come about?
Oh, what's the drummer? What's the drummer's? See, that's messed up. He's gonna be tripping that up. I don't remember.
I need to check
What's
his
the
name now.
drum?
It's from Bad
Chuck
Brains.
Treese. Chuck
Yes.
Chuck Treese, right?
Yeah.
So again, I was jamming with him probably in Philly. It was a group called no, it was a guy Q that we were doing something with, and I met Chuck around that time, along with the guys from Ween, and he was he would come to the club too sometimes jam, but he knew Phil the artist, Philip the artist. Let's call him that. So Philip, he's a guitar maker too, Goldfinch guitars, and he was bringing me a guitar. And I guess Chuck told him about me, and they're tight. As far as Philly, they're from the area here in Philly. But he introduced me to doing that Punkadelic thing. It basically, we stopped. What did he do? He said, we got this radio interview, and he wanted us to play at this radio station. So I think I dropped a show for that, and then we drove like another drummer and a bass player, but it was just slammed together, you know. And I think it might have been a Punkadelic already out there, but they probably didn't care about them having the name or something. So
Yeah.
it was basically a spur of the moment thing. You know, I'm still wondering. I'm wondering too, because one minute was Punkadelic, and then I didn't hear too much more about it. You know, because Chuck probably has some other obligations. He stays pretty busy. You know, I mean, the skateboard thing, just to even be on a skateboard is a trip. You know, he's
Yeah.
skateboarding and drumming. You know, and writing. He plays guitar too, guitar and bass and all that. It when we did the radio spot, they didn't really have any amplifiers there for it. You know, so you had to plug directly into the board, and it was. I'm not used to doing like a kind of a I don't know like a makeshift thing. I mean, I could do it, you know, we work with little or nothing, but I thought we would have amps and all that. So the main thing was, I guess, getting there, putting it out there, just punkadelic, put putting something on the radios, and see where it goes. And I don't even know exactly what we could. I think I did something else. He did something called Maggot Breath or something.
Yeah.
I did
Maggot
that
Breath
track
EP.
at the just on a home studio, you know, track, and it was just off the cuff, you know. I mean, for lack of a better description, you know. And if they want to do something with it, I hadn't heard anything about it. You know, it's like other than this interesting sounding name, you know, in a sense, and then the punk funk. Rick James used to call some of his stuff like I think he called his punk funk at some point, but I'm not entirely sure.
Did you like back in the late 70s, early 80s when you were in the midst of all the music that you were making, was all of the kind of like, the punk and the hardcore, was any of that on your radar at all?
A little, yeah. I mean, I was hearing it, but I mean, I didn't have a name for it. You know, I mean, there's certain bands playing. You know, what is it? Was Sex Pistols one of those
Mm,
bands?
yeah.
Um, and I try not to categorize a lot of stuff. I mean, I could say was in the funkadelic, but it's like the rock and the heavy metals type stuff really kind of they all blended some way together. So that I don't know what the tubes were. What were the tubes considered? I was listening to so much stuff. It's like would they? You couldn't say they were. I guess you could say they were punk too, but um, it was little elements of of, of punk.
Yeah, I guess they were kind of like a little bit pre-punk, a bit kind of like glam rock sort of thing.
But yeah, no, it wasn't quite on my radar. I was really just my head down somewhere, probably practicing or and whatever I happened to come on the radio if it was really popular, you
Yeah.
know, on the rock stations. Was listening to WMMS in Cleveland. I think they're still around, but I listened to a lot of records, but I didn't categorize a lot of them, or I didn't say like, oh, well, I'm gonna get into punk, you know, or punk rock or something.
I think that's a good attitude to have. I'll write about music, and one of the things I hate the most is having to say like this is this style or that style. It's like you kind of want to give people an idea, but I don't like to put people into boxes and say this music is this or this music is that if I can avoid it.
Right, right. I'm with you on that. I just when I did something, really had no idea what it was going to be. This P Vine, can't remember, it was a P Vine import, and I named it like heavy metal funk, heavy metal funkathon, and then they changed it to heavy metal funkathon, and I'm like, and I was trying to include all these words that I like, music that I like in this one word, like Aqua Boogie, Psycho Alpha Disco Beta by whatever that was, and you try. And somebody sent me a book the other day, and they combined the words together, and they were explaining that they were combining this word, and that's how they came up with this word, you know. And I um I I, I tend to listen to a lot of different styles, and when it comes to writing, I you know I'd like to switch around more now. When I heard like the mashups, like that was really interesting. Like, I had an idea to do make my funk to P funk. It was that figure, and it was no quarter. Like, so the one was like make my funk to P funk, and then it would be that's like no quarter. That figure, those two figures put together somehow, and I never really got a chance. I guess maybe I might get a chance to do it in the future, but it's combining all of the 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 feels is
Yeah.
really hard. Like to go to like some heavy metal speed, like double foot stuff, the
Mm.
drums, and then you start thinking about, I mean, the Chile or like Latin percussion, and there's so many different uh, styles of music that I'm influenced by. But I kind of lost track of the question. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all good. I was just thinking to myself, like I think I've heard you saying before that you were influenced by the Yardbirds and by Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck, but I was thinking somehow getting no quarter and P Funk to gel together, that would be a really interesting sound because it's not the most obvious combination.
Right. As I started mentioning, I'm like, why am I even talking about this? But it comes, it starts to come, it comes back. I've been back and forth with it for a long time. Like, it was this guitar player, Ricky Rouse. He's got he's dealing with some health issues now, but he did a lot of stuff with uh, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and he had a Hendrix thing. He went through the theatrics of it. But I was telling him about it. I think when he was out on tour, but we never got to it. That's kind of in the jam sessions, like
Yeah.
those little offbeat clubs and stuff like that.
I saw a clip of you playing recently in the Viper Room. What have you got going on at the moment in terms of shows that you're doing, people you're playing with?
Well, it's not a whole lot. I mean, I've been using some musicians, and their band is called Clone Wolves, out of California. A few guys out there, but yeah, we haven't done a whole lot. And matter of fact, if I didn't have I just got some doctor's appointments I got to take care of. But I'm supposed to be going out to LA, and it was more in the sense like the Viper Room was one thing, but most of what I was doing on the West Coast and hope to be doing more of is like the private party type things, you know. Like, I don't really have a manager, never had a manager, so it's like it's all of these things are just coming together, and it may be something developing, but almost like going in the studio and recording and not knowing what I'm gonna be on. I don't know what's it might just drop out of the sky like, yo, we got this tour, Mike, and you gotta you got to be on it, like, oh, okay, I don't know who's doing it, I'm sorry to say, Tom, I'm really, I'm flying blind, I'll try to be, if we talk again sometime, um, I'll try to have more information. This is,
It's all
I
good, my
think
man. It's all
this
good.
is kind of like a rehearsal for that.
I appreciate I appreciate getting the chance to talk to you. And look, I love what you do. I'm a big fan, and I'm glad that you're
Yeah,
still doing it, you know?
my brother.
So
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the latest record, and it is on my radar for the next one. So whether I'm finding out about it at the same time as you are from Howard, I'll be looking forward to hearing about it. And if we get a chance to talk again in the future, that would be cool too.
All right, my man. Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me.